put do not disturb, it won't vibrate, right?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah.
I don't have that
Yeah,
on
you do not disturb. There's no vibration, no calls come in, nothing. Because everything was the voicemail.
Was it the moon?
The moon thing, yeah.
I'm gonna have my phone to look at the teams for one.
Yeah. And the time too. Let me know the time.
Yeah, it's 3:32 right now. You gotta be at the wedding at 5:30, right?
Yeah, an hour and a half should be more than an hour. But like we can even if we do less, we do less.
Alright.
I don't know if you want to rate playoff teams. He's just doing that too.
Yeah, it's there right now.
See, if Miami gets Butler, then they're going to be high for me. That's the only thing.
No, right now I have them sneaking in. I actually have them lower. West. Yeah, obviously after they get Butler, different stories, but let's see.
I heard Houston's trying to get Butler too. Apparently, Eric Gordon in the first round pick.
That would make things much more interesting than that.
Yeah, and they could possibly finish first if that's the case. Might forget it probably because I have to fit in here somewhere. Unfortunately. You know what's funny? When we did it last time, actually, the Lakers' odds to make the playoffs, they were like in the 7-8 range.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. I guess a lot of money came in on the Lakers. They're now the second highest odds in the West, ahead of Houston, which is insane.
That's the LeBron effect.
Portland's definitely out this year.
Definitely out.
Yeah.
From 3 seed to all the way out.
Oh man, they were like 2 games ahead of everybody in the third seed.
That's
though.
true too. Well, I think many will make it.
And who's making it that didn't? Denver's gonna go in this year, and the Lakers are in. So 2 teams at least have to come out.
That's really about it. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think the Clippers might be better than Portland this year.
I'm still keeping Portland in there.
Memphis, I think is gonna be alright as well.
Actually, hold on. I'm gonna take somebody on. So you think Denver's a lock, eh?
I do.
Based on.
Well, Millsap's healthy this year, and I just think that everybody's better. I never thought Portland was good anyways. Remember I called the sweep going into last year's playoffs. Or I called that they were going to lose. Well, in New Orleans as well. Give them?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they made it last year too. Vegas can stay healthy. I think I might keep it the way it is.
Who am I missing?
I got Golden State, Houston, OKC, Lakers, Utah, San Antonio, New Orleans, and Portland.
Is there how many teams?
That's
14 in the West though?
15. Oh, you're doing like the what not
So I'm missing one team. Let me see what I'm missing. Oh, Sacramento. That's why.
Trash. Okay.
All right. Welcome back to On the Block, guys. We're into our 5th year. Big thanks to Lamar and Igor for coming through all the time. Let's get it started. So we're going to start with the Toronto Raptors, who obviously got Kawhi. We talked about that a bit last time. We've seen them in practice so far. He's smiling. He's laughing. We haven't seen that before either. How do you guys think that the Raptors are going to match up this year? Do you think they maybe exceed the wins that they had last year at 59 And if so, obviously the Boston Celtics got better with their guys coming back as well. So how do you think Toronto does this year?
Well, they're always it's before they were fool's gold to me, and even though they lost this year, I believed in them. It was the first year I believed in them. But it's difficult because I watch, man, since Vince left, teams don't try when they come here. So their record looks better than it is when I see the guys coming here. When I see their stars coming here and I'm watching them, they don't look like they're playing hard.
Even last year?
Past couple, like 5,
Forever.
6, 7, yeah, forever. Except for maybe when like Vince and them were there, people wanted to come in and play hard because Vince was there.
That's
Yeah.
around a nightclub
Yeah.
effect.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess that too. Maybe Drake's make distract. I don't know what they're doing, but I just not gonna. Their record wise, they're always gonna be up there. Like as long as they keep having this talent, especially with Kawhi there. So it's just playoff wise. I think they could be good because of Kawhi. I personally don't think he's staying, but playoff wise, you got to shut down a defender. You can do something. I think playoff wise, they could, even if they were to lose like second round. I'm just saying it would be like a respectable loss to a team that was better than them instead of like Cleveland. They're better than them because you're a big fan, but they shouldn't have got swept like that and like playing with them the way that they got played with. It shouldn't have been that way. Even if they were to get swept, at least competitive. It looked like they weren't even to belong. The whole organization.
First of all, I wasn't a fan of Cleveland. I was a fan of
Okay,
LeBron
sorry.
James.
Yeah. Right.
But anyways, my aspect. This is probably going back to what he said. I think this season is probably the season I'm most looking forward to from the Toronto Raptors since Vince left, because I actually see some reasonable hope of some actual success. The Boston Celtics are probably player for player better than the Toronto Raptors. I think you can definitely make that point. They have a lot of question marks, though, as do the Raptors. How's Hayward going to play back from that leg injury? How's Kyrie is he going to be healthy? If things don't go the Celtics' way, the door is right there for the Toronto Raptors to actually make an NBA Finals. Which, again, will they beat Golden State? Not a chance. But it's an opportunity for at least somewhat of a high-end success. And if you look at the roster, switch up. We lost Jakob, we lost DeMar, got Kawhi, got Monroe. Looking at that trade-off, like I will again any day of the week if he's healthy, I will take Kawhi over DeMar DeRozan any day of the week. We basically got rid of one choker, one more to go. He's got one more year left. We'll see how he plays. He supposedly wasn't very enthused by what happened this summer, was very non-committal in terms of contacting the coach. It'll take some time for them to get used to Nurse's system. So again, they supposedly have a very easy schedule in October, which is really good on their end because
we have Boston our second game, which is that's going to be a good one, a good test, right?
A good test right off the bat. It'll all depend on Kawhi's health and Kawhi's attitude. Now that's going to be if it looks like Kawhi gets injured or he's not playing at the level he should be, then they're in trouble. But Siakam's got another year. You got another year out of OG. The young guys will grow, mature. From what I've seen out of JV, he looks like he's in the best shape I think I've ever seen him. He looks quick. He looks like he really decided to slim down a little bit and lose some of that huge girth, more for his quickness. He's shooting the three. I actually was pretty impressed with some of the videos I've seen so far in preseason and them getting ready. Practice. So going back to the original point, I will be paying more attention to the Toronto Raptors this year than I probably paid attention to them the last few years ever since Vince left, because I legitimately see that there's some hope. Not championship hope, because as we know, the NBA is pretty stacked in terms of the West.
But
they
have
an opportunity.
MVP. That's the thing. Like I don't want.
They have an opportunity, and you never know what could happen. You never know what injuries will hit. They have a legit opportunity. The last couple of years, they've had very slim opportunity to do much. They have a legit opportunity to do something this year.
And I don't.
And that's hope.
Yeah,
I'll take the hope.
It's real hope, and I think that Danny Green's another big addition that people.
Yes,
I know that
Green.
you're not his biggest fan.
But I just have to say one thing about DeRozan. I can't allow, even though I've always said that they're not, I can't allow that choker coming with DeRozan. The only thing I'm going to say, just for the people to know, in defendance of him, is that they coached one way, and I blame Casey for a bit of it. They played one way a whole season.
Isolation?
And that, no, just
the
a
team
certain way.
ball.
They played the way that they played. And then as soon as they get to the playoffs, they're playing the same way, but the other team is arranging what they're doing according to the team that they're playing. And they're doing the same thing that they've been doing because they got them a good record.
So
and then it looks like outcoached and the players themselves are not adapting. So it looks like they're getting worse, but DeRozan's just doing what he always does. his numbers are just looking different because now they're playing a team that's actually trying,
stop
rested, waiting there, doing stuff for them. So I don't really consider DeRozan as a choker. He's just not as good as you guys thought he was.
So
I think he's a good
So
player.
when it comes to the playoffs, the best players, the great players, usually raise their game.
Yeah, but that doesn't
DeMar-
mean you choke.
that is not
But he's
DeMar
not a great
DeRozan.
player. I didn't call him a great. You guys think he's a great player because he made the All-Star team a couple of times. He's a good player. He's not this transcendent player that will defy odds and then in the playoffs when he's sick and fluke. He's not that player. He's a good player that should make an All-Star team. Maybe
Who would you
starting.
compare him to? Like, what kind of even like that kind of caliber? You
I
think
always
Victor's
said
better than him though. Victor
Yes,
right
yeah,
now is better.
absolutely.
Okay.
Victor's someone that would excel in the play. To me, in the play.
Oladipo?
But I'm not saying I'm not saying he's a transcendent player. But I'm saying I would trust him more than DeRozan. Absolutely. Regular season, maybe whatever, maybe DeRozan. It'd be difficult for me to choose, but playoffs, no question.
But
Give me
at the end, Victor's had a lot of ups and downs compared to
Yeah,
DeRozan.
one year.
DeRozan's
Yeah.
been stable. Oladipo's had 1 year.
We expect
They
him to have
weren't
it.
expecting Indiana to do much. This year
It's
teams
the
will be
way
ready
he
for
did
them.
it. It's the way he did it, and especially against LeBron, they should have won that series. But I'm not going to get into that. It's the way he did it. It's the
I'm
way
gonna
he
get
did
into
it.
that.
He may not have like this amazing year again, but he won't have like a year like that was a fluke. Like people won't say that was a fluke. They're just expecting him to continue slowly go upwards. He might just stay where he is, which is
All in
fine.
all, Kawhi's a playoff performer. We've seen it. I will take that any day of the week over what we've seen over the last few years. A lot of people were crying about the trade and he's loyal and all this other junk.
Guys cheating on their girlfriends, talking about loyalty.
At the end of the day, it's a business. You perform. It's just like a job. I've told you this several times. It's like a job. If you're not performing for your boss, and heck, you've been loyal for 10 years, they will fire you or ship you out, and that's just the way the business works. It has nothing to do with he signed here, he signed in Toronto. Again, we're one of the biggest markets in the entire, whether it be North America, probably in top 4, top 5. Yes, the whole stigma about it being Canada, but when people come here, they enjoy being here. The weather and so forth, that happens in a lot of cities in New York. Yes, you're gonna get some snow on you, big deal. And again, I'm not completely sold that he ends up leaving. It's about I would say it's a very good chance he ends up leaving, but. The way that he is as a personality, he's not an LA guy. Come on,
He
that
wants to go
chuckle,
to LA. He's
that
from
chuckle,
LA.
that chuckle, in a sense,
I
like
think-
any media pressure he would see in LA is like, when
think
I
he's-
saw that man laugh, I'm like, man.
He's from LA.
Yeah.
I know he's from LA, but at the end of it,
They'll
he's
hide him.
also a guy that doesn't look like he wants the spotlight. So he probably would be better in a smaller market situation in terms of actual coverage. And here we're not a small market, but in terms of the whole NBA landscape, they see it that way. And he goes to LA. Yes, he'll be a Clipper. He'll play second fiddle to the Clippers to the Lakers. Clippers are always second fiddle to the
But
Lakers.
if he goes to
Doesn't
the
matter where they are.
Lakers, though, Anthony Davis is the favorite to go to the Lakers.
Yes.
Next, you have Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and LeBron. So that's why Kawhi can take a back seat if that's the case. But
Do you think Lonzo Ball's personality fits what you're talking about in LA?
Fits the Lakers personality?
Yeah.
Of course. Because he loves attention.
No,
He's
his
not
personality.
smart.
No. His personality and the way he talks and acts. I'm not talking about his hype and his dad. Him, the way he speaks, the way he talks. That's LA to you?
Yeah.
He talks like a robot. He shows no emotion.
He just came out with a diss track rapping about about Kyle
But what
Kuzma.
does that have to do
Now
with?
is that something that Kawhi would ever do?
But what does that have to do with basketball? See what I'm saying? That's how you guys get caught up in this. That has nothing to do with basketball. You're talking about being there, talking to them, doing a stupid laugh, being made fun. I'm talking about media. What does he do?
You're also taking into effect. I'll give you a perfect example. When I was doing the whole Sportsnet thing, I spoke to Blake Griffin early on in his rookie season, and if you want to attest to what Blake Griffin is now compared to what he was then, it wasn't even a comparison.
What do
It
you
was
mean?
when Blake,
changed
when
for
Blake
the worse.
he changed probably for the worse. When I spoke to Blake, there wasn't a more humble guy I had seen on the basketball court where he was answering questions with yes sir, yes ma'am. He looked like he was one of the most humble guys you'd ever seen.
Okay.
And if you look at the way that it's evolved over the years since he got to the
Everything's a
Clippers,
joke.
now it looks like he's a complete utter disaster when it comes to that.
But that's
So that the young kids, when they get thrown, yes, they're not used to the whole situation, and his dad does a lot of his talking. See how his
Opens
personality
up,
progresses when it opens up in a couple of years.
But what you're telling me has to do with basketball. Media is a part of basketball.
Yes.
A rap outside or commercial is not basketball. You're promoting yourself on
Okay.
those things. I'm talking about basketball related. ball is as much as a robot to me as Kawhi.
in terms of talking.
The
to
way
media.
he speaks, his emotion,
Okay.
everything, his bland
But again-
answers,
But
everything.
the thing is, he's also not a free agent signing, and he's not a
Yeah.
top player. So
Who?
that's like comparing him to maybe like DeLon Wright or something.
And like I said,
right?
and that
Or
was
like
something
Fred
that like I
VanVleet.
told you, Blake wasn't like that too, and it progressed differently. The young guys usually take some time. Not everyone's gonna be all gung ho about being on camera. There's not gonna be a Jalen Ramsey, for example,
So you
a guy on the Jags who. That
He's
guy,
not
that,
this
that guy
man.
talks out of place like he's been a vet in the league for 10 years when he really hasn't.
But you-
But his personality is different because that's just him in
See,
general.
that's where I'm saying where I don't understand this whole what people act with basketball. What does it matter? You bring Kawhi in, you don't let him talk to anybody. He says one words, and then you go and win championships.
Okay.
Why do I care about how he talks and whatever?
It's
That
like the
doesn't mean
thing
anything.
isn't that it's the comfort level. I'm talking about the comfort level. In terms of the LA, the spotlight is a lot on you. You're expected to do a lot of different things. If he's on a team where like he plays second or third fiddle to another star, it'll be if he's the main man and he has to answer to certain things. That's not his personality. You saw that on the news conference. Like that was the first time I really saw Kawhi in that
But
sort
it
of
seemed
situation.
like he opened up.
He opened up, but man, was it hella awkward. I mean, that laugh has
But
been
we've
around.
also-
like
we've
I saw
also-
Kevin Hart laughing at that. Like,
But
oh,
we've
tomorrow.
never seen Kawhi really talk in interviews, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's
so
the thing.
maybe it's something that he's getting
Let's
used
get
to.
back to the
But he's
Toronto
also
thing.
20, what,
Okay, but-
26, 27?
But what I would say in relate to rebuttal that is in LA,
Mhm.
when people think of LA, they think of Magic, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Shaq.
Shaq,
Kobe.
Kobe, now LeBron.
Personalities.
When but what I'm saying is when Kawhi goes there, he's not gonna. What do you think he'd get more attention here as the face of Toronto or attention in LA? Where do you think the media is?
in the NBA spectrum?
No, I'm talking about the
Mic
the
time,
amount
mic
of
time.
mic, the amount what you're talking about, the amount of camera attention and responsibility. on it.
If
here,
LeBron's there, the answer is LeBron.
yeah.
Okay, so it'd be
depends.
worse for him
Again,
here.
It will be worse for him here on,
Okay.
on a certain element in the sense that, but I'm talking about in terms of the NBA landscape. We're not seen on the same level as the LA Lakers. Let's be real here. If he goes to LA, the more media coverage he will get that. There's a reason that, for example, like look how much. Let's say the Jimmy Butler situation, which we'll talk about later. Look how much media coverage that's gotten because he's in the U.S. market. If that was a guy on the Toronto Raptors doing that, I guarantee you they wouldn't be talking like
But
that.
I think the only part that you're mistaking is every team plays 82 games.
Sure.
Media coverage means how much they branch it out to everybody else. Kawhi is going to get branched out more
Mhm.
to LA, but he won't get the amount of attention as he will in Toronto. He'll get more in Toronto, but it will be more like he can say once it's
It
sent in
depends
LA,
on-
it gets sent around the
Again,
country.
it depends
he can
on-
say a
on the
whole
scenario.
interview here, it'll be in like
If
two
you,
countries.
if you put him in Milwaukee or Sacramento or certain cities where they have one beat reporter or one or two people covering the team, you don't get a lot of attention. So some guys prefer that.
Toronto's not that.
Toronto's not
Toronto's
that.
okay, so
then
Toronto's,
that's what I'm
Toronto's not that because again we do have a lot of media coverage.
Okay.
But he's also in a sense where I see that Masai might have had him do that. I'm gonna be looking to see how much actual media and how much he actually talks to people
I hope
after
he
the
doesn't.
games. I guarantee
hope
you a
he
lot of the staff try to make him comfortable.
He will.
I
We'll
hope
say
he
that.
I want to move on because we
Yeah.
get a little bit off topic, but I want to get back to the Toronto and how I think they're going to do. I think that if the Raptors make it to the finals, which in my opinion is a 50-50. To me, it's only them in Boston, I think. And I think that it depends who's kind of hotter going into it. What I was going to say earlier is with DeMar, every time we went to a series, and you obviously for being on the show for a while, we were drinking the Kool-Aid for a while, and you're always like, no, they're not playing team ball. This year with Kawhi, there's no questions. It doesn't matter who they play in the first round. Nobody's taking the other team. Like if they play Milwaukee or they play Detroit or they play Washington, not many. It's not like DeMar's here where it's like, guys, like in the back of our mind, maybe you have a Finals MVP who locked down LeBron,
Yeah.
blew him off the court, and sent him to another city. Right? That's the only guy in the league to do that. So when Kawhi's coming, if he's healthy in the playoffs, there's nobody that Kawhi's gonna guard that's gonna go off for 30 or 35, and that alone, I think,
Now,
it gives the Raptors.
now the
edge.
one thing that a lot of people have been saying, and again, he still has to prove this. A lot of people make that argument that Kawhi is a Greg Popovich centered system player.
I don't want to hear that.
I 100% agree. I was just about to say that.
I
I'm
don't
so
want to
happy
And
hear
that was something that he's going to have
Yeah.
to prove in a different light because if we don't see the Kawhi that we had in San Antonio, if he is healthy, a lot of that talk's going to come about that maybe Greg Popovich sort of made him.
This is great. This is good.
Right.
Okay, so I want to talk to you because you've
So-
obviously played the highest level of basketball, right? So what makes someone a system player?
Well, I'm saying in the sense of Dirk Nowitzki, Hall of Fame player, great scorer, all that kind of stuff. He is a player that's a good player that you put on a team to make the team better because he's good. He's not a playmaker in the sense of like a McGrady or Vince or even a Kobe. Even LeBron could be some sort of a playmaker in the. But DeRozan,
You have to be a playmaker to be a
No, when I
system
say a
player?
playmaker is like you can bring attention to you, do certain things. If your shot's not on, you can do certain things. I'm not saying you have to not be a whatever. Kawhi Leonard had a good team. I'm not saying it's because of Kawhi. I'm not saying that. If you put Brady on another team, he's still good.
But this
you have a
first team is
system.
not good.
No, but
Especially the last year, the last two, like since Duncan, and he was old. Ginobili, all these
Oh,
guys
let's-
are all like name the next guy on their team before they
Well,
all
I mean,
reach
let's
two.
be real. I mean, I think Popovich did a great job considering he didn't have Kawhi last year. Like Aldridge looked like he was going to be a disaster out there. On the Western Conference, them making the playoffs was
Yeah,
probably
what they do is they
great
beat bad
accomplishment,
teams.
to be
They beat
honest.
bad teams. So to get back to the question I asked you is what makes someone a system player?
Okay, well, wait, one last
I
thing. I
want
won't
you
get
to
off.
talk
I won't
on
get
that
off. But
too,
I think it's historic fact that when that Popovich is known for having players where it looks like they're done and you get them play at the best level of what they have.
Okay,
left
but is
in the tank.
Kawhi done?
No, he's not done.
Okay,
but
that's
if
what I'm
you,
saying.
but
I
if
want
you
to
could-
try and.
But
yeah.
if you could get, if I'm a good race car driver and you give me an Echo, a 1996 Echo, and I drive
You'll
it,
do as
imagine
good
you
as
give
you
me a
possibly
Ferrari.
could. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that Kawhi is a good player without Pop. But what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
what they're expecting out of him, or what I'm hearing, I don't know if you're actually saying it, but what I'm saying, what you're thinking he's going to do in Toronto and make them better, as in, okay, we're going to do this thing like a Butler. I wouldn't even say Jimmy Butler's a better playmaker than Kawhi. Kawhi will shut down the other player, and he can score. He can hit a mid-range jump shot. He can dunk because he has long arm, whatever. He can.
It sounds like you're talking about LeBron right now. He's good because he has
No,
good
he's a
vision.
good. Well, LeBron can't play defense, but that's clear. Is that
okay.
up for debate? Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Hold on, hold on.
When he tries, LeBron.
You know what? I'm
can
surprised.
bring it
I expected a better response from Lamar. I want you to just speak for just 1 minute, and then I want to make my point about that. System player. What does that mean?
I think again, I think a good example to be used is like we'll look at since we've seen DeMar, for example. So he's now going to be in Greg Popovich says I'm going to try to watch as many Spurs games or that I can in terms of when it's on to see how DeMar changes as a player because he's the type of guy that in a Popovich system wouldn't really work.
He can't shoot.
He can't
Outside of that.
Outside he can't shoot, and his defensive skills are supremely limited. And Pop loves his defenders. They're built a lot on defensive situations.
Like
defensive
Danny
teams.
Green, for example.
Like Danny Green. So I like to see how he's going to try to make DeMar a better player, and to see if DeMar is a better player in San Antonio than he was in Toronto based off of that. I personally don't think that you can teach an old dog new tricks, sort of thing, because he's always also been in the league for a long time. Yes, you can shoot better, but I think defensive abilities are something that's more innate in you.
Limited, yeah.
It's limited. So I'm going to take a look at that, and then can Kawhi? I don't think that Kawhi is going to go
Drop
crazy
off.
right off the
Oh.
bat. I don't even know if he's playing today or not. I'm expecting him to slowly transition through, and it's going to take some time. It happens with everybody. Every team that goes through one of these major changes, it takes time for guys to gel to see that they're true. That I'm expecting Kawhi to be a shutdown defender, which we haven't really had. I can't remember the last shutdown defender we had against teams better players. And I'm expecting him to again pull his weight offensively and be a reasonably solid player in terms of an all-star level player. If he gets back to that MVP status this year, that would be amazing. Is that likely to happen? I don't know. It depends on his health.
Okay.
But a system player, and to me, is a player that excels playing in a certain type of ball, and doesn't excel when they're not playing a certain type of ball. Like Mike D'Antoni's system, for example, is a very offensive-driven system.
Tom
It
Brady
makes
plays
guys-
his system.
It makes guys look better.
Right.
Yeah, Tom Brady is another guy plays in the Belichick system. Again, would Tom do that
Outside? We'll
outside?
never know, right?
I'm biased because I'm a Tom Brady fan. I think he would.
You would.
But at the end of it, it's just making guys better in a certain system.
Okay. So I'm going to say what I have to say, and
Go for
you're
it.
going to back me up on this. At least I feel. And you can talk about this with any sport. Kawhi Leonard, what makes someone a system player? This is why I think Kawhi Leonard is not a system player. What happens in a system is if we're playing ball together, the three of us, okay?
Mhm.
Let's say you're a shooter, I'm a post-up guy, you're a playmaker. Are you going to make me a shooter?
And you're a post
And I'm a post-up guy. Me, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to make me a shooter, right? I'm not going to make you a post-up guy. I'm not going to make him a ball handler if he can't do his job. A system player, what Greg Popovich does in his system is he looks at all of your skills and puts you in a position to succeed,
Sure.
right? So if you're Danny Green, he's going to make you a shooter, maybe a bit of a playmaker on a catch and shoot, whatever it is, but he's not going to have you running off screens like Ray Allen. But he's not going to have you doing things that you're uncomfortable doing. So what I'm saying with Kawhi Leonard is there's no system player when you're a superstar. If you put someone in an ISO position and you're crossing over Jimmy Butler 3 times, hitting a fadeaway, and I can send you guys videos, he's done this before. He didn't win a finals MVP from taking wide open 3-pointers. That's what you would call a system player. There's no such thing as a system player superstar. System players are your role players, which is why the Raptors interchanged them like crazy and why the Spurs interchanged them like crazy. And other teams in other sports, low budget teams in baseball, Oakland Athletics, what they do is they put you, once again, in position to succeed. And that's why, to me, Kawhi Leonard is not a system player. And the same thing with Paul George. And Paul George, to me, he was a guy that was a number 1, but I think we all agree now that he's a 2. He settled into his position he's in beta to Russell Westbrook's alpha, and he just sits there. That's why he didn't want to leave. And that's my argument. Was Tim Duncan a system player? If he played for the Houston Rockets, would he not be good with a bad coach?
That's different.
He'd still be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Would Tony Parker maybe?
So just like so. How do you, just in a quick response, how do you think DeMar's game will change under Popovich?
I don't think he's going to have really as much freedom as he did with Toronto. I think that Popovich will try and put him in a system
Which
to
is a good
succeed, right? And you're not going to match him up against your best defender, against the next team's best player, right? You'll probably, Danny Green's gone. I don't even know who they have playing.
But based off of that, are you expecting DeMar to be a worse player in San Antonio?
I don't think he's going to have the same kind of stats, to be honest. I don't. Yeah, it's tough because he was getting 25 points here. They asked him to do a lot. And even if he stayed this year, I feel like everybody's role comes up. They did that with Kyle last year. Kyle used to get 20, 21. He was down to 16 last year.
I think he's going to be asked to do a lot more. He's going to have to expend a lot more energy defensively, and he won't be the same player in San Antonio. But
Okay, I have 2 things to say on both ends. First, if we talk about Kawhi, Jordan made people change the word of making people better. Making someone better doesn't mean you make someone's stats go from 7 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan had people thinking Steve Kerr and
great shooters.
Who averaged 25. He's a great shooter. Don't let me go. Luke Longley. I've heard people bring up Luke Longley, who's a normal good center, but you make everyone around you better or even look better. Kawhi does not have. I've never seen anything about him. Him by himself, great player. But there's nothing about his game that will make the rest of them shine. What he did in a system, everyone did what they were supposed to do, and what he was supposed to do was integral to make them all look better, to make them play better. Because without him, he's the engine. So that's the one part with him. If we go to DeMar DeRozan, I'm not going to do much other than guarantee that the same way he played on that Olympic team when he almost had that 360 dunk on someone, what he did with Pop, when I look at DeRozan in the playoffs, I don't see a choker. I see a guy taking stupid shots. Now, people may say that's choking, but not to me. It's shots that he thinks he can hit that he can't. Pop is the one, Casey's the one who's saying, Lowry, DeRozan, you're my guys, go do something, I trust you. Which if someone's not doing something right, you got to talk to him. Pop will not let that happen. Even if, when someone says you have a quiet 20, or that guy had a quiet 30, even if his numbers drop, I guarantee he's going to play better than he did last year. Well, people look at him and recognize his game more. They may call it anger or vengeance because of Toronto, but the way he plays in Spurs this year, watch what happens.
I just have one thing to say on that. It's going to be very hard going in the West when you're going against Golden State, like Klay Thompson, how many times a year?
Yeah.
Like Trevor Ariza. But it's going to be a lot harder because there's better defenders.
I disagree with one of your points in terms of Kawhi's effect on the other rest of the team, because it's well known the defense always transitions into offense. And having a guy that can shut down the better players on the other team will allow more opportunities for the other guys to have wide open looks, fast breaks. It'll definitely affect the situation. So he will make them better.
No, he'll make the team. He's a great
other guys
player. The team will get better. So if you give them more opportunities, I think he's a very good player. Yeah. Not DeMar. He's talking about Kawhi.
The defense will actually help out the other guys.
If you give them more opportunities from stealing, blocks, energy, you have more opportunities for the team to score. That is not what I'm talking about when they're in a half-court set and they have to beat Golden State, like when they almost beat Golden State before Pachulia took him out. The way that they were playing in that situation, he wasn't just making everyone better. He was hitting good shots. Everyone was doing the role. He was playing great defense, great help. As great as he is as a defender, and he absolutely is. I think he's the best. Yeah, he's the best. Clay's second to me, perimeter guarding. But help defense is important too. I would watch the way that they would guard LeBron in the finals, And Toronto had no idea. You can't just leave one guy, even if he's doing great defense. You have
Has
to
to
know
be
when to
some kind of
side.
help.
You have to. Spurs know how to do that. So even though if you have a guy who's the
That's a
best
system.
defender in the
That's
league,
it's a good coach.
making something difficult, and then you got help, it's over. If you have a great defender in the league with a bunch of guys who don't know how to help defense or do anything,
You're on an island.
yeah, but he's still going to be good enough, but it won't look as locked down as before.
That's fair.
Gary Payton was a great defender. The second he left San Antonio, they didn't call him
Seattle,
sorry, and went to Milwaukee. They didn't call him that anymore. Of course, he was a great defender still, but that glove garbage disappeared the moment he left, and he was still relatively young. And every year after that, the glove was disappearing. But you gotta have some sort of system. Even as good as you are, you gotta have help. But whatever.
I want to ask you one question, and then we're going to move on from Toronto. Where do you put Kawhi in terms of top player in the league? Top 5, top 3, top 10?
If he's absolutely healthy and he was playing the way he was
Yeah.
then, the only person I personally think is better than him would be Durant.
Yeah, right. Like, and you'd say LeBron, which is fair, right? But other than that, like it's not like Paul George is better or Jimmy Butler is better or any of those guys.
When he's healthy, he's
That's what I'm saying. When you're talking about
him,
him, like you can't say that he's like a system player, but only Durant's better than him because that doesn't make much sense either.
Okay, so on the list he would be my number 2.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like absolute, even though Westbrook's here, I would choose Westbrook over him on my team.
Wow.
On my team, I'm taking him.
Lamar wants to lose.
Would go? You take Westbrook
Over Kawhi.
when
Over
he's
healthy Kawhi.
To me, that's who I want.
I wouldn't do that.
That's who I want.
No,
I want him.
not
You like defense, right?
No, but Westbrook's not a bad defender. He's not as good as Kawhi. But Kawhi could do, Westbrook to me could do more things.
Boston Celtics, guys. Let's go. We're on team number 2. We gotta go through this real
yeah,
quick
yeah.
now. Okay, Boston. Kyrie's healthy. Everybody appears to be healthy. Kyrie's never really played 82 games. I don't think. Maybe since like his rookie year, he's always down and injured. If this team is healthy, which is a big if, are they the number 1 seed in the East, and do they win the Eastern Conference going to the finals?
I mean, I have them as the number 1 seed because, like I said, I think Toronto's going to take some time to adjust with the whole Kawhi and then the new coaching aspect of things. Again, if everyone's healthy, their starting 5 is. I mean, I'm not going to say they're going to compete with Golden State in the finals. I think Golden State will still win it if everyone's healthy, but it'll make for a really good finals. I think it'll be competitive. If you look at another year out of Tatum, what's going to be interesting is a lot of those guys are going to have to start.
The role comes down.
Like Terry Rozier's going to have to come off the bench. How's that going to go? Jaylen Brown's going to have to come off the bench. And again, it all depends. Like, what's Hayward gone down? Like, some of those guys never recover from those type of injuries. You never know what's going to happen with that. And if Kyrie ends up healthy, they've got a great shot, and I would say that they're the number. Now, you said that it's either Toronto or Boston. I kind of disagree with you on that point because I think Philly has a real good opportunity if everything comes together. If Fultz, like you're saying, supposedly is going to be an impact player, that gives them a pretty dynamic three individuals. So I wouldn't say it's just between those two because I think Philly's right there.
But Philly's in that second tier, though. They have a shot, but they're in the second tier.
I don't know. I think if you look at, I think Toronto has the best player in the conference with Kawhi. If you look at a guy that can come like next to him, probably one of the Boston guys. But I mean, Joel can get, if he's healthy, Joel can be a real dominant force out in the East. So I still give Philly, I would say the tiers, those 3 teams, and then it drops down significantly. I don't know what everyone else thinks. But.
Boston, your team.
I have to say what I say to everybody else. I can't exclude you guys. Boston's my team, and you guys know it. Before even Isaiah got there, I love the way they play. I love the way Stevens coached the team. I know my squad. I can't stand everyone telling me about it's not going to work because of minutes and I don't want to hear people talking about my team. I know what my locker room's about. This team is the absolute elite. I think that they can beat Golden State. I didn't say they will. I don't think they will. I think they can. And I think that they're in a series. I don't picture any team in the East taking them to a Game 7, but behind that, to kind of go to what you're saying, that's why we'll see when it happens. But to kind of agree with what Igor is saying is that other than that, and I'll even step it up a bit, I think any one of these other teams, the better teams, I think Philly can beat Toronto easily. I think Toronto could end up beating Philly. I believe Washington with Howard, I think this is the best fit for him. If it doesn't work here, he might as well just go away. I think that Washington can step up because they're an iffy team. And I still believe in Indiana.
That team chemistry in Washington's all over.
I'm just saying, you never know what anything can happen. People said the same about Indiana. They said they were done once Paul George left, and they were a 10 times better team. And Paul George is better than Victor Oladipo, but Victor Oladipo played better on that team than Paul George, and they made them play better to me. So I'm saying Washington, even Indiana can end up pulling an upset and beating Toronto.
They can beat anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
They can beat Boston.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, so Boston, nobody's touching. There won't be no Game 7, but someone might get a 2 if they're lucky. But other than that, Philly, Toronto, they could be Indiana, Washington could be an upset either way. Even Milwaukee, who I don't trust at all, even they could probably get it together this year and do something. So all the other
So
teams,
you still don't have faith really in Toronto. You think anybody can beat them and anybody can beat Philly, but Boston's in the league of their own.
Boston's a league of their own. Nobody's as soon as they hit the playoffs, no team is taking them to Game 7.
So just to go over first, so you both legitimately think that if Boogie comes back healthy, that Golden State team can be actually beaten by the Celtics.
And I've talked to him. I think Boogie isn't even a good fit for them.
He's not. How many shots is he gonna get off? 6? He's gonna get maybe 8 shots
Still,
off.
think about it. If you look at it's
He can't guard a soul.
basing it off the finals last year, but that gives him a different aspect of things. Like for example,
He's probably better coming off the bench, to be honest.
The only game that really in the finals was reasonably close, the first one, albeit when Clay and Steph weren't shooting the ball well, Durant took over. There's going to be those situations where they're not shooting, and then where's the ball going to go? It's going to go inside to Boogie, and then Boogie's going to get his.
I agree.
So I think if they're all healthy, that's a juggernaut that
We'll
can't be
stick for
stopped.
Golden State in a bit, but
Yeah.
let's stick here. Okay, so we all said our thing on Boston.
Yeah, so I think Boston ends up first if everybody's healthy.
So Philly re-signed JJ Redick, and they got one of my low-key under the radar kind of guys, and oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. The guy they picked up from Denver. Went to DePaul. Anyways, they picked up another swingman and starting at the 3 for them. How do you guys think that Philly and Fultz is coming back? And like I said, he only played one game, but we saw the highlights. He looks a lot better. How do you think that Philly's going to be this year?
I like teams that don't do a whole bunch of changing. I like they stick to their unit. Yeah, you can pick up a signing to make your team better, but I like team more than power. And I don't know what Philly can do. They can end up being worse than last year, or they could gel more. And Fultz can. I believe in Fultz. I hope he does well this year. They could go to and play very well. So Philly, just like to me, it's going to be the same when we talk about Philly, Toronto, Indiana, Washington. It could be a hit or miss.
And I love Embiid, obviously, but I think let's not forget last year was his first season where he was healthy, and he did not play a ton of minutes, right? So it's going to be tough.
And I think that'll be the difference between the top 3 will be which team is the healthiest throughout the season, and if they don't take any major hits, because any type of major hits can really affect, like if someone's out for an extended period of time, like to me, like I said, if Boston stays healthy, if all those guys, they definitely have the best talent, but it's the staying healthy part of the aspect, and like I said, it all depends on how Hayward comes back and how Irving, but Philly, again, if Fultz can provide an impact, like I said, could be open, like that Boston series was weird because they played pretty well at certain aspects, and then the young kids just sort of like.
Oh, they're rookies.
Yeah, they made a lot of mistakes, but that series was very
he scored 1
competitive.
point in that game.
Very
Remember?
competitive, yeah.
Well, let's go with Miami next. I have Miami right now in 4th, and that's assuming they get Jimmy Butler, because I think that right now they're the favorite to get him. And I think that if Miami does get it, let's not forget, I think it was 2 years ago, they had the best record post All-Star break and missed out because LeBron ended up sacrificing the game so that the team could play in whatever, because he didn't want to play them in the first round, right? So I do like Miami a lot. Obviously, one of the best coaches in the league in Spoelstra. Very good defensively. Everybody's kind of like Whiteside took a step back last year. I really like Bam Adebayo. He's had a big year for them. Dragons, these are playoff guys. And like I said, if they get Jimmy Butler, look at what Minnesota did when they got him.
Hold on, just look at that. We're not good. So it's 4th based on getting Jimmy Butler.
4th based on I have them next on my list. So we can talk about them as they are without Jimmy Butler.
Okay,
they're still a playoff team, I think, to you guys.
Are they 4th without Jimmy?
No. Without Jimmy, they're probably 7 or 8.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, let's talk. Miami's a playoff team regardless for you. Like if they have this team right now.
I mean, I have them.
I like
sneaking.
Waiters if he can come back a little bit healthy. I like him.
I have them sneaking in. I mean, I think they're not going to be in the top 5 in my opinion. But I have them again. If they get Butler, different stories. But I have them making it. But I do have them like 7th, 8th.
And if they do get Butler, where would you put them?
If they get Butler, I would probably rank them 4th, or maybe 5th next to Indiana.
But but you guys are
But then
Butler
the
won't
Whiteside situation.
I'm more comfortable.
Make a big difference.
No, he's a good player, but I'm more confident without him. He's been on. When you're on 3 different teams in 3 years, there's something wrong with him. I'm not seeing a guy that's going to go in the locker room and they're all going to say, "Boy, we got somebody."
He's
and
here.
They're going to do something. No, it's not going to do that. So yes, if you're Miami, you take him. I would take him. Of course, you take him. But I'm not going to think. I feel more comfortable with the riding that I saw last year, especially if you can get Whiteside to even be even 25% better than what he was last year. Not even 100. Not even to when they gave him the contract. Just he was almost
Some effort,
non-existent.
yeah.
Something. And if you get Waiters at even 75%, 75 of what he was before when he first got hurt, then this team to me is like not.
It'd be a tough out.
Yeah,
It'd be a tough out.
See, I think that's the biggest problem. Is I think the Whiteside aspect has become pretty toxic in that locker room, and the way that
He's a child, and it's sad.
It's a really, again, he's a talented kid, and again, I don't know how old he is now because I don't remember he came to the league pretty late.
27, maybe 28.
He's got a lot of talent, and he realistically should be the next guy to take over from Wade, who's going to be playing on his final year. But like based on that aspect of things, like they're a team that's like they're getting the best out of a lot of guys. Like James Johnson. James Johnson, we thought he was done.
He got
So when
$55
he
million.
was in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Kelly Olynyk is another guy that I was never a fan of, but he's doing a good job.
so like, Eric Spoelstra's again
Great
a
coach.
pretty good coach. Like I think that goes under the radar. If they get Jimmy and he's able to work it in, they have a good enough amount of talent. Would they in that 4 or 5 seed? Would they be able to probably beat Indiana or whoever else? Be a tough out, but I don't see them being a huge, team to be. Well, again, depending on who they deal for Butler too, you could lose. You lose Winslow, you lose some of the other pieces. You never know. But they're an interesting team, but not one that I'd fear if I was in the East or anything.
I'm going to make a bold prediction, actually. If they do get Butler, which I think they do, we won't have time to do another show before. If they get Butler, I'm going to have them in third ahead of Philly. And I like Philly. I think he's going to make a big difference, like I said. And what I'm going based on is last year with Minnesota, a lot of people forget because they have short memories, but when Jimmy Butler went down with that torn meniscus, they were in third place ahead of Oklahoma City, just behind Golden State and Houston. And they lost almost every game they played for a month and a half without him, and had to get remember that game against Denver, to get into the playoffs. People, and Jimmy Butler's one of my favorite players, but I'm leaning towards you. This was going to be his third team in 3 years. First trade was because of contract negotiations. They wanted to go young, that's fine. Now we're seeing with Wiggins and Towns the drama that's going on, but you cannot doubt that he is a top 5 easily at his position, right? And if they get him, that's just, you don't have to worry about if Dion Waiters comes back, if Hassan Whiteside doesn't decide to try. You have a legit all-star there. And that's why on both sides of the ball. And that's why I have them at third.
But when he left Chicago, it wasn't just that. Him and Derrick Rose where there was problems in the locker room.
Well, it was Rondo, Wade, and Butler against the team.
No,
that's what it was.
When he was in
Chicago
the first time when
before Wade.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
See, and I think you're putting a lot of effort. The Minnesota situation, they had even then. Yeah, you're right. They dropped off a little bit, but then the West is a lot harder conference. There's not a Karl Anthony Towns on the Miami team. He probably there's not Andrew Wiggins on the Miami team either, in my opinion either. So,
but it's like Indiana, right? It's Indiana's team where everybody gets you 14 points and you play like a team. There's no stars.
But with the power that they had, like the talent that they had, I'm not saying they had superstars. When Butler got there, they digressed. They weren't like you didn't by the eyeball test. Don't look at the scores. Don't look at the stats, and you're watching them. You're not seeing a team that just signed Crawford and then just got Jimmy Butler, and you traded basically Jimmy Butler for Zach LaVine, who was basically only a highlight player, and you saw more hope in that team when Zach and them were there.
Really?
They
were the worst defensive team
ever.
ever.
The crazy thing done when he went to Chicago was actually a pretty good player in Minnesota.
He's a good defender and a transition guy, but he can't shoot either. Let's move on from Miami. Let's go through this a little bit quicker. Indiana. You like them? Victor, how do you think? What do you place you have them at?
Oh, I didn't put it in real order. I guess.
It looks like
I just wrote the name that came to my head.
I got him 5th, but I still think it's one of those situations, like I mentioned earlier, that they are going to be a team that took a lot of people by surprise last year because they thought that Indiana would be rebuilding.
Yep.
Paul George was gone. It won't be the same situation this year, and I think that they'll have more problems. I think they have enough talent to get them through a little bit because I like Miles Turner. I think he's a guy that gets a little bit underrated. He had some health issues last year. Victor, in his role, did a really good job. But it's also one of those situations where are they, like Lamar likes to use that fool's gold comment a lot. That might be one of those situations where they caught a lot of teams off guard. And this year they might go down to earth a little bit. The East is still relatively weak.
I think the Knicks are good. Like last year, the Knicks for half the season, at least they had Porzingis, so it was a tough out. Not like Orlando, Brooklyn, New York.
I mean,
there's a lot of bad teams. But
I do have Milwaukee finishing ahead of Indiana because I'm expecting
Giannis to make
some kind of leap and a kind of push from that team because they have a lot of talent with Middleton. They have really good core players. They just for some reason it wasn't working. I didn't like that I thought they should have given Jabari Parker a little bit more of an opportunity. They chose not to. But
He's in
they're
Chicago, right?
yes.
On like 40 million for 2
yeah.
years. It's crazy.
But so they look like a team that has a lot of talent, and they could definitely take a leap forward. I'm banking on it for at least the top 4 place in that. But yeah, I have Indiana at 5.
Okay, I've Indiana at 5 too. Let's move on.
Yeah, me too.
Let's do Milwaukee. You talked about them
Yeah.
quickly, and where did you have them? I guess.
So I have
fourth?
Milwaukee in 4th because again I think truthfully the next guy, I mean Anthony Davis is there as well, but the next guy I think that's going to really start getting into that conversation about best player, and he's probably somewhat there. I think the Greek Freak has all the aspects you can ask for in a superstar player, in that, and he's only realistically going to get better. Still a young kid. He is a physical phenomenon in terms of he just pretty much has everything going for him, and once he puts it all together, there's no real stopping that kid. But that's just me. I'm a huge fan. Like I was so impressed with what he did against the Raptors, and he was almost like
That almost doesn't
unstoppable.
even count. Quick,
Yeah.
quick question: would you rather have Anthony Davis or
I
or
would take
Giannis?
I would take Anthony Davis at the moment,
Yeah, at the moment.
based on the fact that I think Davis, yeah, man, it's a tough one. I think Davis when he's healthy, and because of positioning wise, I guess the Greek Freak can play power
He can play
forward too.
more
He can play more
positions.
positions. Man, it's a tough one. I will take Anthony Davis at this point, but that might change my mind.
To
this
me, it's
year.
Anthony Davis, and I don't want to say it's not close, but it's Anthony Davis. He's a way better defender as well. Who would you rather have quickly?
Anthony Davis.
Okay.
Anthony Davis.
You want Milwaukee?
I have them at 7.
Do you see anything you like or you don't like?
No,
They
I
make
just
many
don't. I
changes.
notice, and it's not a good thing. I notice that every year I slowly see Giannis getting better, and I don't see the team getting better, and that's not a good thing at all. Usually the team like evolves with either through rosters or through camaraderie or through something. You'll see the players going up with the superstar. Obviously not at the level of him, but it's like they're all staying completely still.
Bledsoe as well.
That's he was a big disappointment.
Bledsoe hasn't been a good fit for that team so far. I think,
He can't really shoot, right? That's another problem. Okay, Washington, a big. I have Washington at 7. I don't know. You guys have them about the same kind of.
I have them at 6 again. It's a team that it's a bunch of misfits and a lot of talent. I mean, I'm a big fan of John Wall. Situation going on with him and Otto Porter and all that other stuff. Dwight Howard, like he mentioned earlier.
Well, Dwight's
much-
still going to get
how
you
much
like
does-
10 and 10.
How much does
easily, right?
Dwight have? Is going to be like he's on how many teams has he been on lately? Like,
Yeah,
it's been
that's
like
a guy to talk
high.
about. Like 7 teams, 6
7,
teams.
8 teams, and then that's a guy that I thought was going to be one of those guys that would be a star player and be a guy that would stick with certain organizations for a long period of time. That hasn't been. He's become a journeyman. He went back home to Atlanta, it didn't work out. Like you don't know what you're going to expect. And again, a talented guy, but a guy. Think about it. Washington already has so many problems with a lot of egos in the locker room. And you bring that guy in there, and again, another guy that I spoke to early on, nice guy, no problems with it, but you can tell that he's become a problem in a lot of places that he's been. And he put that in with Beal and Wall and all those other situations.
Morris.
And they got rid of Gortat, right? So to make room for him.
Yeah.
Gortat again was another guy that was kind of, and him and John Wall weren't getting along. It's going to be an interesting thing because that could be a really, really good team, like he mentioned, or it could be an absolute catastrophe.
They could be good, but even if they were good, I think like the absolute best case for them is like they're not better than Toronto and Boston no matter what. Maybe like they push Philly and Miami, Indiana, but it's such. I feel like towards from 3 till about 6 or 7 in the East is going to be when the season's done like 2 or 3 game gap between like 3 or 4 spots, and it's going to be very tight. I feel between like Philly, Miami, Indiana, Milwaukee, and Washington. I think it's all going to be very tight, and like I think that Washington got a lot better. I don't know, like I do like Gortat a lot. Like he sets a good screen, he rolls, he does a lot of the dirty work for them. They'll miss that because you're getting like a serious guy in Gortat with Joker and Dwight, and I do like Dwight, but I'm kind of getting tired of his act too. But we saw it last year with Brad Beal when John Wall went down, he carried the torch and he did a great job, right? Like I think that he's approaching almost that DeMar level minus the flashiness, but he's pretty much up there.
This might be the year where they cut their losses on one of those 2 guys. And
if it doesn't work out,
and if I had to imagine, I would probably say that they would probably deal Wall before they would deal Beal.
The only thing is because of the contract, they won't be able to. They'd have to set Beal out. But
I have them at 4th. I think that they can trade Wall because he's good. He's just not messing with this team. It doesn't matter what his contract is. People will take him. I think it could go horribly wrong with the Howard thing. I'm just saying, like, I think of scenarios. If he gets along with Wall but not the rest, that could be an absolute disaster. If he gets along with Beal and Beal seems to get along with the players more than Wall, I can picture them getting rid of while getting some talent and merging and just still doing good. So
Yeah.
like I'm just saying,
It'll be the last year that they'll have
Yeah.
that course together. I can't see it.
Kind of like the Raptors.
It's kind of like
last
how the
year, something has
Raptors,
to
and,
go,
and
yeah.
someone's gonna have to wipe their hands with it because if it's not working. It's been
been like five, six,
6 years. You gotta make some moves and make some big ones.
so I say the only reason why, which is the same for the Toronto thing, why it's difficult to blow them up is because they're losing just because like you expected them to win. They didn't implode and destroy themselves the way Toronto did. The way that they lost deserved something big in the offseason. Unfortunately, it was DeRozan. I don't really say that whole business thing. It's like you had to.
Yeah,
You
can't
were
run the
second
same
place
team.
and getting swept. You have to
Well,
do
you know,
something
the
different.
window was closing at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with a young Boston team and then the young Philly team, those guys.
Well, that's
they'll
what
have opportunity.
Masai said. He had that great quote, and he said there was two quotes. First, when he traded DeMar, he said that when I got this position, I could have came in, cleared out the coach, cleared out the players. He goes and start fresh, a clean slate. I don't know any of these guys, and he goes, I gave him a shot for 5 years, which he did. And then the other thing is, like what he said about making the Kawhi trade. He goes, if you want to go to work every day and be content for 10
Yeah,
years, if I want
exactly.
this job for 10 years and want to, get a participation ribbon, then cool. But he goes, I'm trying to make this team a title contender, and I respect that. Lastly, in the 8th spot, I think we all have the same team.
We're at 8th or 7th.
Well,
I have two teams. Well, I got.
I'm at 8. Yeah.
Oh, you're at 8. Oh,
Yeah.
I had. Personally for me, again, I'm a big fan of Casey. What he did. I actually have Detroit actually making the playoffs and finishing in 7th.
Oh, okay. Well, I have them in 8th. You have Detroit.
I had them at 8th, but I split them because it could still go wrong. And I my sneak pick, I think Atlanta.
It's very bold.
I think that the Chicago Bulls, if everybody's healthy, they might surprise
That's
some
the team,
teams.
yeah.
The
Detroit
marketing
and
marketing
Chicago,
kid
yeah.
is pretty good.
He's out for 2 months now.
Is he out for 2
Yeah.
months? Ooh, I don't know about that, but they have some talent on that team. They might be a little bit of a player if they can get some stuff going.
And the kid they drafted, Wendell Carter Jr. at Duke, I think is going to be very good. They took him at 7, I think. Yeah, I like him a lot.
So yeah, that's a team on the rise with a good little young core. So they might make some noise.
Well, I
Is
just
Westbrook still the coach yet?
yeah, I don't really like him. But Detroit, you didn't say much about them. What do you think?
Detroit again. I think Casey.
Blake and Casey.
Casey's the guy that they're going to respect. Again, I think that Dwayne did a really good job with what he had here. I don't think he could have done much more. If he gets Blake Griffin on the same page with him, and if he gets the rest of the team on a decent level, they have some talented guys that can do some
Yeah.
work.
Bench is very bad, but the starters are okay.
Yeah. If you can get the most out of them, like he got out of the guys in Toronto, he can sneak them in. It's not like they have a lot of competition for those last 2 spots, in my opinion. If it was in the West,
Really?
no
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah. The only teams I feel like they're battling
Orlando.
with, they're going to be not even. To me, I just had Chicago and then maybe Charlotte because both New York teams are not
Yeah,
good.
Charlotte.
Orlando is maybe the best out of that bunch with Atlantic. I think Orlando's better than Atlanta in both the New York teams, but they're battling with Chicago for the last spot in my opinion.
Yeah,
What do you think?
and I think Charlotte would, depending on what they do with
Kemba?
with Kemba Walker, they might again. That's another team that probably needs to do some.
Shake it up.
Yeah, because Michael talks a lot, and at the end of the day, he hasn't been doing much in terms of that kind of thing. So they're a team that's usually like people like they make the playoffs or they're close to, and they always like sort of like implode.
Well, they did fire
But
Steve Clifford. Yeah.
They could potentially reach one of those spots too. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
I feel Detroit makes the playoffs. I just feel Blake and Drummond. You're a big Drummond fan.
The
Blake
great
Drummond.
thing about this is that it'd be Toronto, Detroit, and my thing. So that'd be the first round matchup against
That'd be
Casey.
pretty cool. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
You think about Detroit?
I
Nothing special. Would they sneak in for you?
I don't like Blake. I think he's the issue. I just can't trust them. I think they had enough talent to be good the last 2 years. Last year they should have did some sort of push with Blake there. They just, unless Casey really does a good job, I still have them as 8, but I think Atlanta also. So whatever.
Okay, what do you like about Atlanta? Because I don't really
I
like
was like,
Atlanta.
Vince is there. No.
Well, yeah, Vince is there. I did
Yeah.
forget about that. Yeah, he's assistant coach now. And you like Trey. We're talking about Trey.
Yeah. I
How do you think he's gonna be?
Like that's
I
that's
don't.
gonna be
But I don't.
interesting.
I'm not gonna lie and pretend I know a lot about the team. I see them. They're nice. I like. They're okay.
They don't have much talent at all.
No,
They have John Collins. I know at forward.
I
Like,
kind of feel
they
Trey.
traded Schroeder for Carmelo.
Yeah.
Remember, They got nothing for him,
Yeah.
right?
I kind of see Trey as one of those guys that will either be
Jim or Fredette.
Jim or you know what? That's exactly what I was gonna say. Jim or Fredette or a light version of Steph Curry, and there's not gonna be a middle ground.
No.
And that's the interesting thing because yeah, he was great, great shooter in college. He was like there were all that buzz about him. But I think it's only gonna go one of two ways, and I'm hoping again. You never wish bad things on guys, and I hope he ends up having a good career. But he can also turn into that Jim or Fredette situation. So I guess we'll see how that
Yeah, because
pans
he's
out.
not very tall either. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
not
gonna
like
be a
Steph's a
problem.
giant, but he's 6'3" and
Yeah, but Steph's also developed a lot of his like the dribbling effects and getting himself open for shots and
Trey's handle is alright for him.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I don't love him. I think that he'll have a decent career. You know what I mean? He'll probably be a bench guy to me in maybe 5 years. I hope he does well. I don't see. I think that they're trying. If Steph never came in the league and did what he did, I don't think anybody would have been as high on Trey as they are. But because they saw that, people are wanting to create something and say, "Oh, he's going to be the next Steph." When I just don't see it happening. Chicago, I said I like Carter. I don't like Jabari too much because I feel like he's almost like DeMar but bigger and not as good. He can't shoot threes. He can't shoot threes. DeMar added the assist to his game and everything, but an explosive guy that doesn't really make your team that much better. I don't really like Dunn too much either. There's not too many guys I do like on that team except Carter. Do you like Chicago at all?
I think
Yeah, I do. I think they're the way, but
I like Markkanen. Sorry for what he is. I like Markkanen for a shooter. Yeah.
I like a lighter version of why I liked Boston, but I haven't seen enough from me to
There's
say
a bunch of
anything.
guys
Yeah,
that
like,
you like.
they played really hard. The way that they played against Cleveland every time they played them, and they beat them the first time, and they had to cheat them the other time they played in the regular season.
There's
And
still
they have
Robin
no
Lopez,
time.
I think, right? Like he's still there holding it down for them.
I do like them. I think if someone likes them now, I think they're on their way to good ground.
I think the Knicks will actually be better than
Than
last year.
people think?
That's not saying much, but at the end of the day, I think they'll make some strides because it looks like they're kind of righting the ship a little bit.
Kevin Knox, they got in the draft, looked alright.
I think Kevin Knox looks alright, and I think Frank will have a decent sophomore season. So, and again, we'll see what Porzingis. It's his team now. He's been his team for now. This is his second year. He got injured last year.
And also the coach they picked up. You like the coach a lot, the ex-Memphis coach.
Yes, the
Yeah.
and he
Fizdale,
Fizdale puts it all
You
out
should
there.
get the players to
He
go.
cries,
A lot of
and
guys
he,
like
he
him.
did well
right?
for Memphis when they were
Get the
really
tape.
trying to get the tape.
Okay, Charlotte, another team that we'll talk about. I'll touch on New York a little bit. I think Knox is going to be all right. They're trying to get rid of the shooting guard that they have. I'm drawing blanks like crazy today. But they signed on that deal, the Orlando guy that missed a layup with Dwight Howard in the finals, remember? But they do have a lot of guys that are not, I don't think that they're anything special. They don't have too many young pieces going forward. They have Ntilikina, who I like for what he is, a good defender. Hopefully he gets a bit of a shot going on. But they're very thin. They drafted the center also.
Did they pick up Moutier?
They do have Moutier still. Yeah,
I
who else they have? They have
like
Trey
Moutier.
Burke. But they have Trey Burke who outplayed him like crazy. Trey Burke balled hard last year.
I was a fan of Moutier back in Denver. He kind of went downhill for a little bit, got a little weight issues, but he was a pretty good rookie.
Where is he now?
He's
New York. He finished the year with New York too.
Could be Raymond Felton version 2 though.
Brooklyn might even be better than them. Like Brooklyn signed some guys low key like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I mean, but then again, they've been so bad for years that eventually you would think that. But then they've had no draft picks either. That was just a
next year
terrible
they have their
situation.
pick. Brooklyn's gonna be in the basement. Orlando. What do you think about them?
Oh, I mean, I always like to see them try to succeed because I like watching Aaron Gordon. I was a big fan of Bismack.
They sent him packing, yeah.
Oh,
They sent him packing,
Did
yeah.
they send Bismack
For
packing?
Charlotte, I don't remember who they got, but they sent him for
Oh,
Charlotte.
I
Center,
missed
yeah.
that one. I thought he was still on Orlando.
They have Jonathan Isaac they drafted last year who barely played.
Oh, so you went back to Charlotte, huh?
Mhm.
Oh, look at that. Okay. Never mind. I missed that aspect of that trade. I mean, they have some good young players in a sense, but it doesn't seem like they put it together.
I really like their center Mo Bamba that they got. The big kid from Texas. He's like 7'2". Like him a lot. Remember Mo Bamba? We talked about him. You sent some stuff in the group.
Did Bamba? Didn't Bamba go to?
He went to Orlando.
Oh,
Dallas got
Dallas.
Doncic.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I do like
Remember
Bamba. Like, yeah, so that would be something to
from
watch.
Brooklyn, yeah.
I spaced out on that one.
I think
Bamba's
he's going to be
good.
very
Bamba's a
good.
player.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very good. Anything about
Got
Orlando?
a hell of a wingspan on that kid.
Yeah, he set the record. And then Atlanta, like I said, they're trash. Okay, we'll take a quick break, I guess. That's pretty much the same with the East. We'll come back and run through the rest real quick on the block.
You have them coming at last?
Atlanta, yeah.
You'll see.
You can't name anybody on the team.
That's a decent point.